Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. In the background you can see two Mazda CX-5 and in front of me there is another CX-5 which will be the topic of this video. I just wanted to quickly show you them two, like what's wrong with them, what they came for, what the complaint of the customer is. So basically the red one, I believe the DPF light came on and it had like a frequent DPF regions. It is both of them are 2016 models. So the owner brought to us and recommended him to get the carbon clean done because that was never done. Also to check the exhaust camshaft, and surprise, it is worn, which I'll show you in a minute. And also to change the exhaust pressure sensor. And during the diagnosis, the inspection, I noticed that the drive belt is cracked, so that's going to be replaced, and the coolant is not so green, or not the green as it should be, so that's going to be replaced. And on this one again, this has 29k on the clock, so quite low mileage. Again, very high or like frequent DPF regions. Recommended again the valve cover inspection, exhaust camshaft inspection. The exhaust camshaft is good on this one. It has like already the carbon buildup started, so we're going to get that one done. And I'm not sure, yeah, also the drive belt is like cracked, so going to change that for him. But let me turn or switch the camera and then talk just tiny bit of them, and then carry on with the main topic, which is this one. Guys, let's stop for a brief moment. I want to say about the price draw. So if you want to win the OBD2 scanner, the top down one, comment down this video down below that I want to win the OBD scanner or OBD2 scanner or the top down, whatever. Just let me know in the comment section, and I will do the prize draw the next weekend in a live session. So you'll see who the winner will be in a live session. But that was it. Now let's carry on watching the video. Here is the one with the low mileage. This is, in my opinion, how the engine should look like if it has the regular oil changes. So it is beautiful. Camshaft is not worn, no carbon buildup inside the engine. Good. Carbon buildup though on the intake manifold side, which is again, it's getting there. It's 30,000 on the clock. It is caught like in an early stage. It is good, it's getting it done now. We removed the exhaust pressure sensor. It is already upgraded one, so the owner had it, I guess, changed. And then we're going to just clean the pipe just to like avoid any problems in the future, getting that pipe clogged up with carbon. And now let me switch to the other one, the red one. So it is still not bad from the top, like we've seen a lot worse than this. What is like a very big issue here, that like a jelly carbon oil build up, that's a problem. And the bigger problem here, the camshaft is worn. From that you can see it has the lip, so basically material is missing from inside. That's a problem. Also carbon buildup, it's tough, it's bad. A belt is cracked, don't know if the camera will show it. Yeah. Exhaust pressure sensor was the old one, so that's getting changed. I can show you here, the belt is cracked as well. Yeah, so basically that's it about them. I'll record a separate video because I've got something to show you, so I'm going to do another video on them too. But let me switch to the main hero of this video. I can't take credit for it because Dan was the one who discovered the problem, the solution or the cause of the problem. So this car is with me like for like a month or 2 months now. The issue is when you drive it, if it sits and you disconnect the battery, you connect it back again and you drive it, it drives fine for like 20-30 minutes, and all the dashboard lights light up like a bunch of lights, like a Christmas tree. The car stalls, it's giving you a bunch of fault codes, but 3 are which stays constantly on, and it leads you to the accelerator pedal, to the intake shutter valve, and one more. But I'll stop the clip here and then start explaining everything with Dan, like how he found it, what the problem is, what the symptoms are, what the solution is, and like why it is like quite a strange fault, and like how he got to the solution, how we found out what the problem was. So have a look at the fault code. As you can see, it is P0192, P0222, P2118 and P0652. So basically the engine or the ECU is complaining of the throttle control, actuator, the reference voltage and the throttle position, and now it is also saying something about the fuel rail. So basically it triggers a bunch of fault code and it starts appearing on the dashboard first with the DPF, then all the lights, so the red exclamation mark, check engine, SCBS, whatever you can imagine, it's on the dashboard. And the problem is the car stalls. So he started up and it stalls. So now let's get to the engine bay and let Dan explain you what the problem is and how to solve it. But before we jump to the engine bay, let's have a look at the live data of the throttle position sensor. And as you can see, it has like two 5-volt references, but only one of them is working. So if he presses the pedal, it only notices on one scale or one spectrum. The other one is not working at all. So how Dan tried to diagnose it? So basically he first removed the throttle pedal and he's checking now the pins, and the first 5 reference volt is there. As you can see on the multimeter, it is showing 5 volts, and if he checks the other pin, it will show less. Yeah, so 1.4444. So what we can confirm with this, that actually what we seen on the scan tool, that if the reference voltage is missing, that we can confirm it via the multimeter as well. Also we know, and I have to tell what we know or some kind of history of the car. So basically the turbos were changed, also the DPF was cleaned. I'm not sure if it was removed and cleaned or just cleaned, but I believe it was removed as well, because that was the initial complaint of the customer, when he took it to a different garage. We don't know why the turbos were changed. Maybe they were like the propeller was broken or leaking oil, or I don't know, doesn't really matter. So now what we've done, or how to try to diagnose, because the ECU triggered 3 different fault codes, and we also checked that on the Diagnose then technical service bulletin, or TSB, what can be the cause of it, and he pointed us to the DPF sensor. So we tried with a different DPF sensor, because it says that can be the problem. Also when the engine was swapped, which it wasn't in this case, that can trigger the same fault codes, but that wasn't the problem here. Then we dived further into it. So basically we were scanning or diagnosing different control modules or units of the car which is using that 5-volt reference, so where it is missing or where it gets lost. So the next fault code was set for the intake shutter valve. So then measured that as well. As you can see, there is the connector, he back probed it, and as you can see, the same, that should be 5 volts, but it's measuring only 1.45 or so. So again, it is missing here, and we carry out this way, on this road, to identify the fault, the problem. So what then done, he checked, because he's got a spare engine from his car. He also checked the wiring loom, what is included, what kind of sensors are included on that wiring loom of the engine control module. But before we jump that ahead, let me then explain how he exactly done it, or what's necessary steps to identify this kind of issues.
Yeah, so first I wasn't sure why we're missing the 5-volt reference. So I was thinking maybe we've got short in a wire. So we disconnected the ECU and we checked on both sides of the wire if the wiring integrity is good, and we found it had 0.4 ohm resistance, which is good, and the continuity was good. So I was confident to say the wire was good. So the next step I did, I was checking which circuit is using, which sensor is using the 5 volt reference, because my theory was probably one of the sensors is bringing down the whole system. So I started to unplug each sensors, which is I think using the 5 volt reference. So I started with the EGR, and as you can see there is no difference when I unplug it. And I also disconnected the exhaust pressure sensor, no difference. So I did this one by one. I also disconnected the manifold pressure sensor, and then I couldn't really find out, because this DPF sensor also using a 5 volt reference, but it seems like it's a different 5 volt, because I just couldn't figure out where the problem is. So I started to look the wiring where else we've got any pressure sensors, and I also noticed there is another pressure sensor located inside the turbo.
Yeah, so he used his engine wiring loom. I don't know, yeah, it's there. So basically what he done, he just traced down the wiring loom, like which connector has like at least three pins, because one of them is the 5 volt reference. So he checked that, and then he checked where is that sensor located in the engine bay, and traced it from there, which we'll show you in a bit.
From here. So guys, look what happens when I disconnect this pressure sensor. Look what happens with the reference voltage. I'm just gonna disconnect this sensor. If I can.
Yeah, it comes back, as you can see. So now we have the 5 volts, so which indicates either the wiring is damaged somewhat, or the sensor is not good. So now we needed to identify what the problem is. Also, if you have a look at the connector, you can definitely see that this is damaged. I don't know if it is a water ingress or like fire damage in some way, but yeah, that's not looking good. And we also checked the ECU, if the 5 volt is coming out from the ECU, because I suspected that the ECU is not working properly, and it wasn't giving out that 5 volt. But the truth to be told, it was because that sensor was still connected to the circuit, so that was draining that 5 volt. So that's why it was missing, and that's why it was a tricky one and a risky one. So as Dan says, it is always better, and that's how we do, that's how we operate. So we want to keep that as a last resort to change the part. We need to confirm that it's 100%, that's what's wrong with the car or with whatever. And first we check. So that's how we done it. He went down the route, he diagnosed it, and he made sure nothing is wrong before like changing ECUs or changing any parts or whatever, like throwing money away on some parts unnecessary. So now let me switch the camera and let him speak what exactly the problem is.
So make sure the ignition is on when you're checking the 5 volt reference. You have to find a good ground, and with the other pin you basically just check each of the wires. You can back probe it without damaging obviously the pin. And look what happens when I plug back this sensor. This one is from my own car. We're gonna order a new one, but just
and also like I need to add, like whenever sensor you're getting for these cars, but I would say for any cars, make sure you're getting the proper one. Don't buy cheap Chinese shit, because they won't work. They can throw other fault codes as well. So we are going to get for the owner like a genuine Mazda sensor of that one.
Look what happens when I plug this back, if the 5 volt is gonna disappear. So I'm using another sensor now. let's back probe it.
Yeah, so as you can see on the multimeter, the 5 volt is there. So we can confirm the sensor is faulty.
We're also gonna check the wire from this sensor all the way to the ECU just to make sure the wire is good. If we're gonna find anything wrong, we're gonna repair the wire. We're gonna clean the pins with a contact cleaner just to make sure it's all how it should be. And then we're gonna test drive it and make sure it's all fixed.
Yeah, and all working properly, because the reason what was doing it, so the 5 volt was missing, and it gave the engine too much air because it let open the EGR and it closed the intake shutter valve, so it stalled because of too much air. So the engine, as soon as you started it, it stalled straight away. So start and stall, start and stall. That was the problem once the fault codes were triggered, and it couldn't be erased. And no fault code was triggered stored for that sensor. There was no mention at all in the fault code history of that sensor. It triggered a bunch of other, I know, it triggered the EGR, the cooler bypass valve, but it didn't trigger that, I think that is the turbo inlet pressure sensor or something called like that. So what's going to be the case now, as Dan said, we're going to get the new sensor, install it, check the wire before, and then take the car for a test drive and see if it solves the issues. But we got quite high hopes that that was the problem, and then we will go from there if the car has any other issues or not. But we believe that is sorted, so we can, after a long period of time, we can return this one to the owner. But stay tuned if you want to find out if it was ever solved, if that was the problem, or what's the next thing to look for if there is anything else wrong with the car. So Dan wanted to add something.
So we connected back everything together. We're gonna check the fault codes. We should be able to clear every faults we have.
Yeah, because what happened before, we couldn't clear the fault codes. Once they were triggered, we couldn't clear the fault codes only if we disconnected the battery for a long period of time, maybe for a week. Then we connected back, the car ran, I don't know, maybe before at like 20-30 minutes, and it was all back. So now Dan connected his sensor, which is working, and he's trying to clear now the fault codes. And I'll switch the camera just to show you that our theory and why it is the solution. So now he's clearing the fault codes. No, first he's just trying to show you that now that both of the signals for the throttle pedal came back. So he removed it and pressing, and as you can see, there are the spikes. So basically it is working now as it should. And now he will delete the fault codes, because before we couldn't delete them. As soon as you deleted it, they came back straight away.
And now so it's clear DTCs.
I think he disconnected the exhaust pressure sensor, as I can see, and the map sensor. So let me connect that back real quick, because the other codes which we weren't able to delete, they disappeared. So let me check. Yeah, as I said, the exhaust pressure sensor, the DPF is disconnected, and I believe the map sensor is disconnected. Yeah, so now all sensors should be connected, and let's check again. So that was like a little error from our side.
Clear DTCs.
It happens, no one is perfect, so yeah. Okay, as you can see, no DTCs, so we were able to clear them, and before we couldn't. So thank you guys for watching this video. As you can see, we tried to diagnose first, then instead of just changing parts and throwing money out of the window. Yeah, so hopefully it was interesting, somewhat valuable for you. And I know a long time no see, although I don't know when I'm going to release this video because we are extremely busy with everything. As you can see, we are expanding, we are building an office there for you just to be able to sit down, have a coffee or tea, whatever you prefer. We are expanding the garage, so yeah, we are getting big now. But yeah, so thank you very much for watching. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, leave super thanks if you can, or order through my Amazon affiliate link to support the channel. And also stay tuned because a lot more interesting or other more interesting videos will be coming soon. Till then, take care and see you soon in the very next one. So bye bye.